Hi everyone, welcome to lesson 5 of my Python training. We're going to look at the if statement and how it can test for certain conditions, how it can test for multiple conditions with the else if statement. We're going to write a little game to bring these concepts together. We're going to look at lists with the if statement, list comprehension, and finally multiple if statements with boolean logic. The if statement is a test. It tests to see if something is true or false. It's the core of programming logic. So in the last lesson, we looked at the list of games. We had 5 of our favorite games, and we printed it out. If we wanted to put a test before printing, we could do an if statement. If game equal to Minecraft, then print, yes, you have that game on your list. And note the 2 equal signs here. If you use 1 equal sign, that's assigning the variable game to Minecraft. That's different than testing. The 2 equal signs test if the item in the game is equal to Minecraft, then print this. So if we run that, we should get one line that says, yes, you have it. We do have Minecraft in our list. You also want to note that this is case sensitive. So if you typed a lowercase Minecraft, you won't get a result. A way to get around that with text is to change the case of both the variable and the test. So upper, and we run it now, we should get yes, you have it. So this function makes the game variable uppercase and makes the test, the condition, uppercase. So regardless of which way they were originally, this will be a match if the characters are the same. You can also exclude from the list by using the not equal to, and that would be the exclamation point followed by the equal sign, and that's saying that if the game is not, if Minecraft is not in the list, then print this. So this means we should get 4 statements here because there are 5 on the list and 4 of them are not Minecraft, and that's what we got. You can also do a lot of things with integers with the if statement. So if we type, we'll loop through the numbers in our int for num in my int. This is the int list up here. And if the number is equal to 3, we'll multiply it by 10 and print num. Now note where the print statement is. If you put the print statement under here, it will only print if the number is equal to 3. But because I moved, this is why indentation is so important. The fact that I moved the print statement out under the original for statement means that it will print all numbers and it will multiply numbers that are equal to 3 by 10. So let's run that and I'll explain. So as you can see, because the print statement moved out here, it prints all the numbers in the list. And it multiplies only the numbers that are equal to 3 by 10. If we use the not equal, we should get the opposite. No, we did. You can use the elif, which is short for else if, and the else statement when you have to check for multiple conditions. So for example, if we use it with our integer list, here we have if number equal to 3 multiplied by 10. And if number equal to 4 multiplied by 100, else multiply everything else by 1000. So what that's saying is if nothing else matches, we're going to multiply it by 1000. So let's run it and see. As you can see, the number that's equal to 3 is multiplied by 10. The number is equal to 4 for the elif is multiplied by 100, and the rest are multiplied by 1000. You'll find that evaluating multiple conditions in Python is quite common. So I have a little game here to show us how to do this and some of the pitfalls we can encounter. The game is very simple. It basically asks the user to guess a number between 1 and 20. Our number is 7. So based on how close they are to that number, we have a different response. So if they guess the number, we congratulate them and tell them they're good. If they get within 5 numbers of our number, then we tell them they're getting warm. And if they're outside of that range, we tell them they're not close. So it's tempting to do this with multiple if statements, but this program here is obviously flawed, and you might see where the flaw is. But let's run it and see what happens. So if we pick a number and we pick 5, that's close to 7. So we're getting warm. If we pick a number 17, that's outside of the range, you're not even close. And all that looks well so far, but the problem happens when we pick 7. So let's pick a 7. This is the correct number. And we get 2 responses because, yes, it is the right number, but also warm. So the reason for this error in the logic is having multiple if statements means that all of them are tested. So the 7 is tested here, and it's, yes, we're good. It tests here, and it's also good because it's within range. It's within 5 numbers of our number. And the last line, it's tested, but it is false because it's not outside our range. So we can fix this easily with the else if statement. So now I've substituted the else if for the second 2 ifs. Now what happens is this gets evaluated, and if it's true, these will not trigger. Same here, if the second one gets evaluated and it's true, the next one will not get. So this is else if. This is if not executed prior, then we'll execute it here. So this should make a difference. And let's put in our 7 and verify. So now if we type in 7, which is the correct answer, we get 1 answer. So now that's fixed that. But that's to showcase how to use the else if. A lot of people like to use the else as a catch-all in the end. So we could put else if the number is is greater than 20, for example. So now you can see that the else statement prints that the number is out of range. So if none of these execute, then that means that the number must be outside of the range between 1 and 20. So let's try it. So we'll put 60 in here, which is clearly out of range, and hit enter, and we can see that the program correctly goes through the first 3 tests and lands on the catch-all, the else statement. So it's a simple little program, but there's quite a bit in here. The if and the else, elif are pretty straightforward. Some programmers do not like to use the else. They would prefer an explicit elif statement. Say in this case would be stating that if the number is greater than 20, then out of range. They find it easier to read. That's a matter of preference, I think, a little bit. And the other thing that's here, the boolean operators, the greater than or equal to. It's key to remember when you use these together that they follow this similar order of operations that our basic math does. So oftentimes, such as in this case, it's better to put them in parentheses so that they're executed in the correct order and you don't get anything funky in the program. Going back to lists and the if statement, we can also search in a list with the if statement, and if the condition is met, then do something. So a good example would be if we take our list of games, we could type if Roblox is not in the list, then we'll append it to the list. So if we run this, we should see 6 items in our list, and we do. Roblox is being added. So this is a very useful and very common task in it. And it brings us to our final topic, which is list comprehension. List comprehension is a better way of creating lists, and it's almost easier to show it than to explain it. So let's say, for example, we had our integer list, which we used earlier, and we wanted to multiply everything by 10 and save it to another list. So we would create the list myInt1 and declare it as a list, and then we would run this script, which would search each item in the list and multiply it by 10, and then append it to the num. So if we run this, we'll get the new list, which is all the numbers here multiplied by 10. But this is a very cumbersome way of doing it. And list comprehension allows us to write this code in one line. So here we have the same code, but it's written in one line. So you don't have to declare the new list. are 3 lines here. You don't have to do it. You just simply type my int 1 is equal to x multiplied by 10 for x in my int. So this runs through the original integer list, multiplies everything by 10, and saves it to the new list of my int 1. In addition to list comprehension being smaller code, it's also much easier to read. So it's a little bit of a learning curve to learn how to do it that way if you're familiar with the other way, but it's well worth it. It's a much cleaner code in the end. So we just covered the basics of the if statement and how to use it effectively with lists. This should give you more control over your programming going forward. If you want to use any of the code from the lesson, please go over to my website at pythonforadultsandkids.com. In the next lesson, we're going to look at Python dictionaries. See you then.